When my daughter told me she had stolen my inheritance through forged documents, I collapsed right there in the attorney's office. Days later, I was secretly searching through my late father's belongings for any evidence to reclaim what was rightfully mine. That's when I realized life is like a chess game. Sometimes the queen must sacrifice herself before making the winning move. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because trust me, this story has more twists than a mountain road, and you'll want to be here for every sharp turn. I used to believe that family was sacred, that blood meant loyalty, that the child I raised would honor the values I taught her. I was wrong on all counts. My name is Helena, and until 6 months ago, I was living a peaceful life in the small countryside home that had been in my family for generations. My father had built his life there, raised me there, and as he grew older, we shared countless evenings on the porch watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Those moments felt eternal, like nothing could ever change them. When Dad's health began to fail, we had many quiet conversations about his wishes. "Helena," he'd say, taking my hand in his weathered one, "everything I have is yours. The house, the land, the savings. It's not much, but it's our legacy." His eyes, cloudy with cataracts but still sharp with intelligence, would hold mine. "Promise me you'll keep it in the family." I promised. How could I not? After he passed, I gave myself 2 weeks to grieve before contacting Mr. Patterson, our family attorney for over 30 years. A thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and a perpetual frown, he'd always intimidated me slightly. But he was Dad's trusted advisor, so I trusted him too. "Come by Wednesday at 2, he said over the phone, his voice as dry as autumn leaves. "We'll go over the will." I remember that Wednesday like it was yesterday. The weather was unseasonably hot, and by the time I parked outside Patterson's small downtown office, my blouse was sticking to my back. I checked my appearance in the rearview mirror, smoothed my graying hair, and applied a fresh coat of lipstick. Dad would have wanted me to look presentable. What I didn't know as I walked up those 3 concrete steps was that my life was about to shatter like fine china dropped on marble floors. Script part separator ===. Patterson's office smelled of old leather and paper dust. I settled into the chair across from his desk, noticing how the afternoon sunlight sliced through the blinds, creating bars of light between us. "Helena," he began, clearing his throat, "there's been a development regarding your father's estate." Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. "What kind of development?" I asked. That's when the door behind me opened. I turned to see my daughter Louisa walking in, dressed in a sleek black pantsuit I'd never seen before. At 32, she looked more polished than I'd ever been, her dark hair cut in an expensive bob, her nails perfectly manicured. "Mom," she said, her voice cool as she took the seat beside me. "I asked Mr. Patterson to wait until I arrived." "What's going on?" I looked between them, confusion mounting. Patterson adjusted his glasses. "Your father made changes to his will shortly before his passing. He paused, glancing at Louisa. "He left everything to your daughter." The words hit me like a physical blow. "That's impossible." Dad told me. "I have the signed documents right here." Patterson slid papers across his desk. "Legal and binding." My hands trembled as I stared at what appeared to be my father's signature. "This can't be right." "He promised me." Grandpa wanted to skip a generation, Louisa cut in smoothly. "He thought I'd make better use of the estate. I'm younger, with better business sense." I looked at my daughter, the girl I'd raised alone after her father abandoned us, the child I'd worked 2 jobs to put through college, and saw a stranger. "When did he supposedly do this?" I demanded, turning back to Patterson. 3 weeks before his passing. He could barely sign his name then. My voice rose. He was on heavy medication. Patterson's expression remained impassive. "Nevertheless, the documents are in order." I felt the room spinning. "Can I contest this?" "You can try," Louisa said, her voice soft but with an edge I'd never heard before. "But it would be expensive, and you'd lose." "Why put yourself through that, Mom?" In that moment, looking into my daughter's eyes, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Calculation. Pure, cold calculation. Script part separator ===. I stumbled out of Patterson's office into the blinding afternoon sun, my mind racing to make sense of what had just happened. Luisa followed me to the parking lot. Mom, don't make this difficult, she called after me. It's just business. I whirled around. Business? This is our family home. The place where you learn to walk, where Dad taught you to fish in the creek. How could you do this? She shifted her weight, checking her watch impatiently. Look, I need this property. The land alone is worth 3 times what it was when Grandpa bought it. The developer's offer expires next week. Developer? The word felt like acid on my tongue. You're selling it. Of course I'm selling it. What would I do with that old house? It's falling apart. Memories flashed through my mind. Dad building the back porch himself, the kitchen where Mom taught me to bake, the bedroom where I'd nursed Luisa through childhood fevers. Where am I supposed to go? My voice sounded small, even to my own ears. She sighed, reaching into her purse. I found you a nice senior apartment complex. She handed me a glossy brochure. It's clean, safe, and they have activities. I stared at the brochure, its cheerful photos of silver-haired people playing cards and doing gentle yoga. This wasn't just about money. This was abandonment, packaged as consideration. You have 2 weeks to move out, she added, already turning away. The closing is on the 15th. That night, alone in my father's house. No, not mine anymore. I sat at the kitchen table where our family had gathered for thousands of meals. The magnitude of what had happened slowly sank in. This wasn't just about losing property. This was my daughter systematically erasing our family history for profit. I'd always thought I knew Luisa. Now I wondered if I'd ever known her at all. As dawn broke, I made a decision. I wouldn't go quietly. I couldn't fight with money or lawyers, but I had something else. Time, knowledge, and a lifetime of carefully kept family secrets. Script part separator ===. The next morning, I began with the one thing Luisa couldn't possibly know about, my father's study. While she visited occasionally as an adult, she never spent time in that sacred space where Dad kept his most important papers. Behind the faded wallpaper in his closet was a small safe I'd helped him install 20 years ago. My hand suas inter de combination, my mother's birthday. Inside were photos, military medals, and a small leather journal I'd never seen before. I opened it carefully, recognizing Dad's handwriting, growing shakier in the later entries. October 15. Patterson visita today. Pressuring about changing the will again. Something's not right. He keeps mentioning Luisa's business plans. I told him Helena gets everything as we agreed. I gasped, flipping through more entries. October 20th. Very tired today. Patterson brought papers. Said they were tax forms needing signatures. My vision too blurry to read properly. Trusted him. Helena should know. The final entry, dated just days before his death, was barely legible. Don't trust Patterson. Told Nurse Martha everything. Safe deposit box at Fast National. Key and fishing tackle box. My heart pounded as I rushed to the garage. The ancient tackle box sat on a shelf, untouched since Dad's last fishing trip. Inside, wrapped in an oilcloth, was a small key with a tag, First National number 247. Before I could process this discovery, my phone rang. The display showed Luisa. Mom, her voice was all business. The moving company will be there tomorrow to pack your things. They'll store what doesn't fit in your new apartment. Tomorrow. You said I had 2 weeks. Plans changed. The developer moved up the timeline. She paused. Don't make this difficult. I need more time. Time for what? To sulk. It's happening, Mom. I'll stop by tonight to make sure you haven't damaged anything valuable. The call ended. I stood in the garage, clutching the key. The bank closed at 5 p.m. It was 2:30 now. I had 2.5 hours to discover what my father wanted me to find before Luisa arrived to begin erasing my existence from the only home I'd ever known. Script part separator ===. I never expected a simple visit to the bank would change everything. Racing against time, I drove to First National, the key clutched so tightly in my hand that it left marks. The bank manager raised an eyebrow at my disheveled appearance, but led me to the safe deposit boxes when I presented the key. Box number 247 contained 3 things: a USB drive, a sealed envelope addressed to me, and a small voice recorder. My hands trembled as I opened the letter first. Helena, my father's familiar handwriting began. If you're reading this, something has gone wrong. I've suspected for months that Patterson and Louisa are planning something. Last year, Louisa approached me about selling the property to developers. When I refused, things changed. She brought Patterson to our meetings, and they spoke about me as if I wasn't there. I've been recording our conversations. Check the recorder and USB drive. There's something else you should know. Martha, my nurse, witnessed Patterson bringing documents for me to sign when I was heavily medicated. She has agreed to testify if necessary. Her number is below. I'm sorry, my dear. I tried to protect our home. Love, Dad. Isate derin deseterile bem que rum. Tis streaming down my face. But these weren't tears of defeat. They were tears of determination. I pocketed the evidence and called Martha immediately. I've been waiting for your call, she said quietly. What they did to your father was criminal. By the time Louisa arrived at the house that evening, I had transformed. The broken woman from Patterson's office was gone. In her place stood someone with purpose, someone with evidence, someone who wouldn't be pushed aside. You're early, I said calmly as she walked through the door. Good. We have important things to discuss. Her confident smile faltered when she saw the file spread across the kitchen table, and the small recorder sitting prominently in the center. What is all this? She asked, a slight tremor in her voice. This, I said, pressing play on the recorder, is the sound of your inheritance disappearing. Script part separator, My father's raspy voice filled the kitchen. I'm not signing anything today, Patterson. I told you, everything goes to Helena. Then Patterson's oily reply, Edward, we've discussed this. De market value alone. I don't care about market value. It's not for sale. Louisa's face drained of color as she reached for the recorder. It's not shady away. That proves nothing, she snapped, but her voice lacked conviction. There's more. I pressed play on another file from the USB drive. This one a video from Dad's home security camera I hadn't even known he'd installed. The footage showed Patterson and Louisa in Dad's bedroom. Dad was clearly sedated, barely conscious, while Patterson guided his hand to sign documents. That's forgery, I said quietly. And elder abuse. Both criminal offenses. Louisa sank into a chair. You don't understand. I needed this deal. What I understand is that you betrayed your grandfather and me for money. It's not just about money. She slammed her hand on the table. I'm in trouble, mon. Deep trouble. That's when the final piece clicked. The gambling debts, I whispered. Your father's addiction passed to you. Her eyes widened. How did you? Your father couldn't resist a bet either. It destroyed our marriage. Ilianed forward. How much do you owe? Almost $500,000, she whispered. The casino's people gave me 30 days to pay. That deadline is next week. So you sold your soul and our home. I didn't have a choice. Tears welled in her eyes. These aren't nice people, Mom. They've already broken into my apartment once as a warning. I felt sick, but kept my voice steady. You had choices. You could have come to me and said what? Hey, Mom, I've been gambling away my savings and now dangerous men want their money? I picked up my phone. I'm calling Detective Rivera tomorrow. He'll want these recordings. Mom, please. Real fear filled her voice now. They'll kill me. Then we better find another solution before tomorrow morning, hadn't we? I had 39 years of being her mother behind me. But for the first time, I held all the cards. Script part separator, That night was the longest of our lives. Louisa and I sat across from each other at the kitchen table until dawn, like strangers forced to share the same train compartment. Tell me everything, I demanded. No more lies. Over cups of bitter coffee, she unraveled her secret life. The gambling had started small, poker nights with colleagues, weekend trips to casinos. Then online betting made it too easy, too private. She'd maxed out credit cards, taken loans, borrowed from dangerous people. The developer's offer was my way out, she admitted. Patterson approached me 6 months ago. Said the land could fetch millions with the right rezoning. He'd handle everything for a percentage. And my father never agreed. She looked away. He refused every time. Said this land would stay in the family. So you waited until he couldn't fight back. I was desperate. Her voice broke. These people, they don't send collection notices, Mom. They send men to your home. I studied my daughter's face, the dark circles under her eyes, the nervous twitch of her fingers. I recognized the symptoms from her father. We have until morning, I said finally. Here's what we're going to do. By sunrise, we had a plan. Not a good one, but the only option that might keep Luisa alive and bring justice without destroying what remained of our family. It won't be easy, I warned her. Everything. I already have, she whispered. I picked up my phone and dialed Detective Rivera, an old friend of the family. John. Elena. I need your help with something delicate. And I need a lawyer, not Patterson. 2 hours later, Rivera sat in our living room, reviewing the evidence with a grim expression. This is serious, Elena. Multiple felonies. Destin. But I have conditions. Script part separator script part separator I want Patterson stopped more than I want my daughter in prison, I explained. Luisa will cooperate fully, testify against Patterson, and repay every penny she can. Rivera rubbed his jaw thoughtfully. She still faces charges. Reduced charges, the lawyer interjected. Given her cooperation and status as a first-time offender. And the gambling debts? Rivera asked. That's where the developer comes in, I said. I'll sell, but on my terms, for the fair market value, not the lowball offer Patterson arranged to split with Luisa. The next 3 days were a whirlwind. While Rivera built his case against Patterson, we moved quickly to secure the property and protect Luisa. A restraining order against the casino's collectors. Emergency court filings. Countless statements and depositions. Patterson's arrest made the local news. Trusted attorney charged with elder abuse and fraud. His face, stunned and gray, filled the screen as officers led him from his office in handcuffs. That evening, as we waited for word about his bail hearing, Luisa approached me cautiously. Why are you helping me? She asked, her voice small. After what I did. I looked at my daughter, truly looked at her, and saw beyond the betrayal to the broken person beneath. Because you're sick, I said simply. Just like your father was. The gambling, the lies, the desperation, it's a disease. And I won't abandon you to it. Her face crumpled. I don't deserve your help. No, you don't. I agreed. But deserving has nothing to do with it. This is about doing what is right, something you forgot somewhere along the way. Script part separator Tears streamed down Luisa's face, the first genuine emotion I'd seen from her in years. I almost reached for her hand, then stopped myself. Compassion didn't mean forgetting. The next morning brought another shock. Patterson, released on bail, had been found in his garage, engine running, doors closed. Suicide, the preliminary report said. My God, Luisa whispered when Detective Rivera called. Did he leave a note? Addressed to you both, Rivera confirmed. I'll bring it by later. The note, when it arrived, was brief but devastating. I never meant for it to go this far. Edward was my friend for 30 years. When Luisa approached me about changing the will, I told myself I was helping a family in crisis. One small ethical lapse led to another. I can't face what I've become. I folded the note carefully. One man dead, another betrayed in his final days, a daughter facing criminal charges. All because of greed and desperation. 2 days later, we met with the developer, not the predatory company Patterson had arranged, but a legitimate firm interested in building a sustainable community center and affordable housing. The offer was fair, though less than Patterson had promised Luisa. Enough to pay her debts and legal fees, with some left over to help me relocate. You could come with me, I suggested as we left the meeting. The condo I'm looking at has 2 bedrooms. She shook her head. I need to face consequences. My hearing is next week. That night, as I boxed up family photos, deciding what to keep, what to store, Luisa appeared in the doorway of my bedroom, looking younger than her years in sweatpants and an old t-shirt. "I found this," she said, holding out Dad's fishing hat. "I thought you might want it." It was a small gesture, but it cracked something open between us. Script part separator, The courtroom was smaller than I expected, intimate almost, with wood-paneled walls and uncomfortable benches that creaked with every shift of weight. Luisa sat beside her attorney, straight-backed and solemn in a conservative navy dress I'd never seen before. I sat directly behind her, close enough to smell her familiar perfume but feeling miles apart. Judge Harriet Moreno was a no-nonsense woman with silver hair pulled into a tight bun and reading glasses perched on her nose. She reviewed the file before her with deliberate care while the courtroom held its collective breath. "Ms. Louisa Winters," she finally spoke, looking up sharply. "You stand accused of conspiracy to commit elder abuse, fraud, and forgery. Serious charges that could carry up to 15 years in prison." Louisa's shoulders tensed, but she didn't turn around. I wanted to reach out, to touch her back, to offer some comfort despite everything, but I remained still. However, Judge Moreno continued, "Given your cooperation with authorities, your instrumental role in bringing Mr. Patterson's broader criminal activities to light, and the recommendation of the prosecutor, I am inclined to consider a more rehabilitative approach." The judge detailed the terms: 2 years probation, mandatory gambling addiction treatment, community service in elder care facilities, and restitution payments. "You're getting a second chance, Ms. Winters. I suggest you don't waste it." As we left the courtroom, reporters clustered around us like vultures. Louisa gripped my arm unexpectedly. "Mom, I can't face them." I straightened my spine, summoning strength I didn't know I still had. "Yes, you can. Head up. We face consequences together." That night, in my new condo, smaller than our family home but bright and overlooking a small park, Louisa and I sat on my balcony watching the sunset. Script part separator, That night, in my new condo, smaller than our family home but bright and overlooking a small park, Louisa and I sat on my balcony watching the sunset. "I don't know how to start over," she admitted, her voice barely audible above the evening breeze. "One day at a time," I replied, the words feeling inadequate but true. "That's how your grandfather rebuilt after the fire of '79. That's how I survived after your father left." Her first Gamblers Anonymous meeting was the following evening. I offered to drive her. "You don't have to," she said. "I know. I want to." Waiting in the car outside the community center, I scrolled through listings for the remaining items from our home that I'd put up for sale. The developer had given us an extra month to clear everything out before demolition would begin. When Louisa emerged an hour later, her eyes were red but clear. "How was it?" I asked as she buckled her seatbelt. "Humiliating. Necessary." She stared straight ahead. There was a man there who lost his children, his wife, his home, everything. He's been sober 8 years now. That's good. That there's hope. Is there? Hope for us, I mean. She finally looked at me. After what I did. I didn't answer immediately. The betrayal still burned, a wound that might never fully heal. But beside it grew something else, a cautious respect for her willingness to face consequences, to begin the hard work of recovery. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "But I'm willing to find out." 2 days later, Detective Rivera called with news that shook what little stability we'd found. "Helena, we've uncovered something in Patterson's records. It appears this wasn't his first rodeo. We've identified at least 7 other cases where he manipulated wills, mostly involving elderly clients." 7. How did he get away with it for so long? Careful targeting. Isolated seniors, estranged families. You and your father were different. You had a close relationship, kept good records. You fought back. Script part separator, Rivera's voice grew heavier. "There's more. The gambling operation Louisa was involved with isn't just some backroom poker games. It's connected to organized crime. They're using these debts to blackmail people into various schemes. We think Patterson was their legal inside man." My blonde hunkled. "Are they coming after Louisa?" "It's possible. We flagged your addresses with patrol units, but I'd suggest you both be extra cautious." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every crea que my new conducent my heart racing. Around 2 a.m., I heard Luisa moving around in the guest room. I found her sitting by the window, watching the parking lot below. They know where I live, she whispered. I keep seeing the same car drive by. The next morning, he called Rivera again. By afternoon, we were meeting with the district attorney, a stern woman named Caroline Diaz with sharp eyes that missed nothing. We want your daughter to testify, she said bluntly. Not just about Patterson, but about the entire gambling operation. Names, places, methods. That would put her in danger, I protested. She's already in danger, Diaz countered. But with her testimony, we can offer witness protection. Witness protection. The words hung in the air like a sentence. New identities. New location. Leaving everything behind. For how long? Luisa asked, her voice steady despite her pale face. Until the trial concludes. Possibly longer, depending on the outcome. That evening, Luisa and I sat at my small kitchen table, weighing impossible choices. I could run, she suggested. Canada, maybe. And look over your shoulder forever? That's not living. She buried her face in her hands. I've destroyed everything. Our home, our family, your retirement. I reached across the table and took her hands in mine. Not everything. We're still here. Script part separator ===. The witness protection program moved quickly. Within 72 hours, we had packed what little we could take. Clothes, a few photos, Dad's fishing hat. The rest would be sold or stored. Our final night in town, Detective Rivera came by with last-minute instructions and paperwork. Once you're relocated, you'll have new identities, new backgrounds, he explained. Your case handler will help you establish everything: bank accounts, employment, medical records. And how long until the trial? I asked. 6 months, minimum. These cases take time to build. I looked around my half-empty condo, already feeling like a stranger in it. What if we need to reach someone from before? You won't, Rivera said bluntly. That's the hardest part. Complete separation is the only way to ensure safety. Later, as Luisa slept fitfully in the guest room, I sat alone with Dad's fishing hat in my lap. This wasn't how our story was supposed to end, running from criminals, abandoning the life he'd built for us. Yet somehow, in this moment of greatest loss, I found unexpected clarity. The house was gone, yes. The land would soon be transformed. But what Dad had truly wanted to preserve wasn't bricks and timber, it was family. And despite everything, Luisa was still my family. The next morning, 2 U.S. Marshals arrived before dawn. No marked cars, no fanfare, just efficient, quiet movements as they loaded our bags into a nondescript SUV with tinted windows. As we pulled away, Luisa reached for my hand. I'm sorry, Mom. For everything. I squeezed her fingers, watching our old life disappear in the side mirror. I know. The road ahead was long and uncertain. But for the first time in months, we were facing it together. 6 months later, I stood in a small courtroom in a city I'd never visited before. Our witness protection names still felt strange. I was now Evelyn Mills, and Luisa had become Sarah. The U.S. Marshal who'd been our handler sat behind us, his presence reassuring as we prepared to testify. The trial had made national news. Major gambling ring with legal connections exposed. Photographs of Patterson and his associates filled television screens across the country. But Luisa and I were kept carefully anonymous, referred to only as Witness A and Witness B. When Luisa took the stand, I barely recognized her. Not just because of her new hair color and style, but because of how she carried herself, steady, clear-eyed, honest. She detailed every transaction, every threat, every manipulation without flinching or making excuses. And why did you participate in this scheme? The prosecutor asked. Because I was desperate and selfish, she answered simply. I chose the easy way instead of asking for help. 3 weeks later, the verdict came in, guilty on all counts for the ringleaders. The courtroom erupted in activity, but Luisa and I sat quietly, holding hands. What happens now? She whispered. We build something new, I replied. The marshal explained our options. We could remain in witness protection indefinitely or transition back to limited contact with our old lives, with certain precautions. That night, in our small protected apartment, we made our decision over a simple dinner. I want to go home, Luisa said. Not to the house, it's gone now, but to our town. To start over properly. It would mean starting with nothing, I warned. And some risk. She nodded. I know. But I want to face it. No more running. 1 year to the day after we fled, we returned, not as Helena and Luisa, but as our new selves with the old memories intact. The property where our home once stood had been transformed into a community garden and small park. A plaque near the entrance read, Edward Winter's Memorial Garden.
How?
I whispered, touching the cool metal plate. I arranged it, Luisa explained. From the money that was left. I wanted something of Grandpa to remain. Standing there among the fresh plantings and new benches, I realized that what had seemed like an ending was actually a beginning. The inheritance my father had truly wanted to leave wasn't the land or the house, but the values of honesty, courage, and family loyalty. Lessons that had taken a terrible detour but finally found their way home. As the sun set over our new life, Luisa slipped her hand into mine. Do you think he would be proud of where we ended up? I looked at my daughter, truly saw her, and nodded. Yes, I think he would.